Hello, and welcome. I have a question about sales. I'm having weekly clicks from my landing page for my products, but once they get to Send Owl or whatever checkout page, they don't purchase. I've changed the price a bit from $4.99 to $5.99. Should I drop the price? Why are they never buying once they've clicked to buy? So I have this handy dandy little flow chart here that we're going to go through really quick about when it is or isn't time to drop the price. This is kind of, that's not the right one. There we go. We're doing layers of Post-its because my Post-its aren't big enough to fit covering the whole page. Okay. So number one thing that you are going to do is working on the actual checkout page itself. A lot of times the problems that we are talking about with like people aren't buying, it's not because of the product itself. It's not because of the price of the product. It's because of the checkout page itself. Sometimes the bare bones checkout pages, especially from Send Owl, I still use Send Owl. I like Send Owl. However, their checkout pages are a little bit more difficult to customize than say like ThriveCart or something. And so it is kind of more difficult, but all that to say, is it clear what they're buying on the checkout page? In Send Owl, one of the things that I dislike especially is that the checkout page itself looks very robotic. Like their default checkout page looks very much kind of questionable. It looks very sus. It looks kind of spammy, if we're being completely honest. If you don't touch it at all, it does kind of look like, is this like a phishing scam? Is this a page that I shouldn't be on? Like, what is happening here? And so if you don't change anything, that can become problematic. You know what I mean? So the number one thing that you're doing if somebody isn't buying is to look at your checkout page. Make sure that it is very clear what it is that they get. Make sure that they understand what it is that they're getting. Is it easy to use? Is it easy to read? Is it clear what they're getting? Is it clear on the product itself about describing a nice mix of the benefits of the product, so what they're actually going to get from it, the results that they're going to have from it, and is it a nice mix of, and it's 80 pages long and it's full color and it's a digital download? Is it clear as to what they're getting? Another thing, this is why this is number one, is to check the tech. That rhymes. I didn't mean for it to rhyme, but here we are. Check the tech. I cannot tell you how many times, and this still happens because Caroline is technologically challenged. Internally, I am like an 85-year-old. I swear there's times. But checking the tech, make sure that it's actually hooked up properly. A lot of times, like you're going through it and you're like, okay, but what's wrong with this? Like people aren't actually clicking over to it, or they're clicking, but they're not buying. So sometimes if we're looking at the analytics, if you're looking at like lead page analytics and it says, 300 people showed up on the lead page, but 0 people it has 0 conversions, because on lead pages, if you want somebody to click a button and count it as a conversion, you have to check a little box that says count as conversion. So are people actually clicking to go over to the checkout page? Are they showing up on the right checkout page? Is this page looking like it's the right place to go to? Because with Send Owl, they have 3 different button options that you can use. One of them is add to cart. One of them is add to cart. One of them is the checkout page itself. And then there's another one, and I can't remember it. But I always do going to the checkout page itself inside of Send Owl. The reason being is add to cart, there's no place on that page to actually like see that it's a cart, like that you're loading things up inside of a cart. It's not like a Shopify store or like Amazon where there's the little cart icon in the top corner. If they move away from that page, whatever they added to that cart is still there, but they have to go back to find it. It's a lot of work, essentially. And one of the things about these checkout pages is the easier it is for people to give you money, the easier it is for people to give you money. If the checkout process takes too long, if it's difficult, if it's more time consuming than it's worth, people will leave. It's just the way that it is. So making things super simple inside of the tech process of the checkout page is really going to be super, super beneficial in making sure that, like, right off the bat, if you are selling a product and you're like, why aren't people buying? Check the checkout page itself. Make sure, send it to a friend. Say, like, would you buy this? What are your first thoughts? If you have your husband nearby, like, what do you think about this checkout page? Just not from a business side, just like take off the business hat. What do you think about this checkout page as a user? Would you buy this product? Do you think it's simple to buy this product? Having somebody else, because when we're too close to it, it looks good to us. It's like, this is fine. This is great. But if we have somebody else who's not inside of our heads, who's not having been that close to it, if we have somebody else looking at it and they're like, I have no idea what I'm buying, red flag. How did I get to this page? Red flag. What is this again? Red flag. This page to me looks like blank, 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 negative details. It feels spammy. It feels scammy. It feels icky, whatever it is. That's a red flag. It wants me to sign up for X number of mailing lists at checkout. There's so many different processes that I have to go through. Red flag. Those kinds of things. So if you are wondering if it's your checkout page, have somebody else go through it. And if it's not your husband, have a friend go through it. Reach out to somebody and say, hey, can you look at this? And see what they see through their eyes. And preferably if it's a normal person, because normal people are different than us business people. Like, that sounds really like mean, but you know what I mean, right? Like, a normal person would look at a checkout page and see it as a checkout page for a product. Whereas we as business people would look at the checkout page and start breaking it apart and overanalyzing every little detail and stuff. We just want to see ease of use. Does it make sense? Like, normal kinds of things that people are looking for. So that's number one. Okay. So number two is exactly this: the name of the product itself. This is another thing that, like, we want to think that it doesn't matter as much as it does. Ooh, don't look at that. We want to think that the name of the product and the description of it and the cover and everything like that, we want to say that that stuff doesn't matter, when in reality, it does. If you have a clear but clever name of your product that is more descriptive than just, like, I think of, my products are in the financial space. So it would be something like 10 ways to get out of debt. While that is a descriptive title of the product and what the promises are inside of the product, it's not sexy. Like, nobody really wants to buy a product about getting out of debt. We all know that that's something that we want, but we want it in a fun kind of a package. So the trick is that you have to find a way to give the naming of your products a little oomph. Throw some glitter on it. Sprinkle some sugar on it, whatever you want to call it. Throw glitter or sprinkles on it and put a cherry on top of it. Make it seem appealing. It has to be appealing. It has to be selling them what they are. What I heard this quote from my friend Jen, and I can't remember it. It's sell them what they want, but give them what they need. That's what it was. I think I'm saying that properly. So that's basically what comes down to from naming. That's what it comes back to, is giving them what they want, but give it a sexy name. So if you have a product, if we're talking about like 10 ways to get out of debt, kind of boring. So what is the result that people want? Well, people want freedom. People want to retire early. People want to go on vacation. People want to be able to open their mailbox without fear. All of those kinds of things. So let's change it from 10 ways to get out of debt to how to retire early, retire by 35 and live on a private island. Because those are the kinds of books that sell. Like, let's just be real. In the financial space, those are the books that sell. Think about it. Like, okay, so there's a book. It's by Tim Ferriss. It's called the 4-Hour Workday, 4-Hour Work Week. That's what it is. And it is all about systems. That's it. It's about systems and simplifying and time blocking. But what is it that people want? They want a 4-hour work week. They don't want to hear about systems. If he named his book How to Create Systems to Set Up Your Life for the Success, people wouldn't buy it. Like they might, because like obviously there are some people who are more interested in it, but for the majority of people, they want a 4-hour work week. Like that's a hook. I want to buy the book just so that I can understand how that's possible. You know what I mean? So that's where it comes back to naming. We want it to be clear, but we also want it to be clever. Change the name. If you've already done the checkout page and you're like, it's all set, I like the way that it looks, etc. Clear, clever, whatever. And now we're going to go into, now we have to change the name of it. If changing the things on the checkout page did not work, if they did not yield results, this is a process, by the way. Each step of this is a process. Like you go through it, you check it, and then you pause. You do not go on to step 2. This was an important part that I skipped over. I apologize. We do not go on to this part until we've tested any of the changes that we've made in part 1 to see if that fixed the problem. If people start buying after you've made the changes in step 1, then do not proceed further. If you have done step 1, made the changes, and still aren't seeing people making purchases, completing purchases, they're winding up on the page, but they're not finishing the transaction, that's when you go in to change the product name. You have to make it clear. You have to make it clever. It is kind of a pain in the butt to be naming things, and I get it. But at the same time, before you go and change your product or drop your price or say it just doesn't work, whatever, change the name. Give it a sexy name. Have fun with it. Throw in the adjectives and, adjectives, that's the right word. Throw in adjectives that you know that your people want. Give that to them. And that's what we're going to do. So that's step number 2. Number 3, add some flair. You knew that this one was coming. If we have talked about checkout pages and you like the way that it's set up to use, you've changed the product description, and now you're like, now what? Add some flair to your checkout page. Add some flair to your checkout page, and not just needless flair. We're not talking about cover it in hot pink and glitter every 2 seconds. No. This is flair to show people what they get, because a lot of times there's a block in our brains, especially when it comes to digital products, about what it is that we're getting. We're unclear as to what the download looks like. What is it that we're getting? What is it that we're actually getting? So tell people what they're getting. Show them a mock-up. Show them a cover mock-up. Like you can make them in Canva. Make a cover for it that's pretty. Splay the pages in the back. There's like 3 to 5 pages behind the cover. That's it. That's it. We're not talking about making a GIF necessarily of you flipping through it, or a full production video where it's, you've seen them like where it's like the B-roll of like somebody coming and zooming over their desk. Like, no. We do not need that. This is for a tripwire or like a low-cost product that we're talking about. We're just going to add a cover to show people what it looks like and some maybe mock-up images inside so that they can see, again, what they're getting inside of it. I'm not saying to give away the whole farm, because if you give, here's page 1 and 2 and 3 and itemize everything out, then people probably won't buy, because if they are shady kinds of people, they might copy and paste it. It could happen. So what you want to do is give them enough of a taste to pique their interest. This is, by the way, all for, if we're talking about like the example that was given was $4.99 is for this product, is a $4.99 product. Like, this is not something that we are going to lose our minds trying to make look ultra polished. Like, we're not competing with, Amazon or for whatever reason, Fabletics was the thing that I saw this morning on Instagram. Like, we're not competing. We're not trying to compete with like ultra like exclusive brands or anything here. This is for a $5 printable. That's it. We are not going to go crazy town. Like, this is showing people what they get inside. That simple. That simple. That's it. So step 1, check out the checkout page. Make sure everything is working. Have somebody go over it first. Make sure that it's easy to use and that there's no hiccups or anything that would make the process difficult. Because if it's difficult, then that means it's confusing. And confused people don't buy. Confused people don't buy. Period, paragraph, end of discussion. That's as simple as that. So make sure that it works. Next, you're going to update your product and your description, or your product name and description. You want people to actually understand what the product is and the promise of what they're going to get from it. It's not enough to just say it's 80 pages in full color. What is the result that they're getting from it? What are they getting from it? Is their life going to be better? Is their house going to be cleaner? Are they going to lose weight? Are they going to have clear skin? Are they going to be able to bench press 300 pounds in a week? I don't know. What is it that they're going to get? Make sure that people understand that on the checkout page as well. Keep it simple, keep it concise, and again, making sure that everything's working. And then once you've looked at the product name, once you've checked the checkout page, make sure that everything's working, check the product name and description and made sure that that's working, and added some flair and some mock-ups and some images to kind of break up the page a little bit and let them see a little taste of what they're getting. And then, and only then, will we ever entertain changing the price. That's it. If we're talking about when can you change a price, I will ask if you've gone through this whole thing and had 1,000 people total go through this thing and had 0 sales before we can talk about changing a price. Because especially when it comes to lower priced offers, the price is not the issue. The price is not the issue. Especially like the difference between $4 and $5 is not enough to cause somebody to be like, I'm not going to buy this. That's not the issue. When we're talking about people who are not buying a product that you have, it's typically not because of the price, especially when we're talking about a low price thing. It's not because of the price. It's not because it's $7 versus $4. Like, I think that all tripwires should be at least $7. But if we're talking about like an ebook or something, $4 is totally fine, totally reasonable, completely reasonable. But lowering the price is not going to cause more people to buy. I know. It's one of those wild things about business in general that's like this logically doesn't necessarily make sense, because as we're talking about like lowering pricing, there's a point of like a tipping point where people are like, wow, this is a great deal. And it turns into, wow, this is too cheap. Is there something wrong with it? And we don't want people to have that mentality going in with our actual products. We don't want them to think that about our products. We know our products are fantastic. We know they're life-changing. We know they're helpful. We want other people to feel that way as well. And so the way that we're going to do that is not by lowering the price. It's about making sure that they know how important this product and this transformation from this product is. We're making sure that it's easy for them to get this product. We're making sure that they can visualize the product in their possession with them so that they can actually use it. So yeah. So do I recommend changing the price? Absolutely not. I do not, in fact, actually do that at all. In fact, I think that if this is a Tripwire product that we were talking about, where it was $5.99 and she lowered it to $4.99, I think that it should be $7 even. Tripwire prices, like, I don't know I do know the psychology of it, but like Tripwire prices, $7. No question. No question at all. So that's the whole thing about pricing. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. And I hope that you have an awesome rest of your day. Don't forget, if you have any questions, let me know. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.